Okay, thank you for joining for this talk. I appreciate to start doing here and also for start this presentation for today. And today we can also move very quick for starting this. Thank you Hashi team for inviting me and also for making this possible. Today we start talking about for continuous observability, how we can enable that using Terraform. These capabilities for using in our companies and how to these new capabilities using observability for our teams make it more possible that the DevOps and SRE works will be better, and also we can address that using a good path. So let me present it to me. I'm Jhonnatan Johnny Pong. I'm a DevOps and SRE engineer at Nomad. I love to share knowledge. You can follow me at Jhonnatan24 in a couple of social networks. You can use LinkedIn or GitHub or YouTube or X or Twitter. You can follow me, and also we can start talking about for this awesome work. Let me share with you this little quote. Life is really simple, but we insist on making it complicated. That is from Confucius, and I love to share this phrase because when you start this job, it's not easy to understand better what and how you can address better your effort. This quote helps you to address and address and also refocus your job to doing better. So that is our agenda for today. We start talking for observability, what kind of observability cover using golden triangle, what is observability as code, what is a kind of benefits behind of a little demo with observability, and also a couple of conclusions here. So what is observability? You can define observability like in a big spectrum about how the signals comes to your brain, how to your brain identify exactly what sound from your body is. Could be you have a pain or something like that. That is similar for our areas for IT side, because when you start to doing something around for your DevOps or your SRE teams or for your dev team or QA or the whole teams around for the IT areas, try to identify what kind of signals behind of are bad or very wrong or something like that. It's not easy, but when you start to observability, you start the journey and you identify exactly how your application works and how they communicate from one side to another side. That is the objective for that. How do we can identify with CPU, time, memory, and disk space could be impacted for the requests that come from your application. How to this you can do in different. How to this can generate a couple of differences between of the application. How to this communicate from one side to another side. I take this definition from the CNCF glossary site. I propose to you could be checked for this, because this is a big community behind of the awesome stacks. So when we start for observability, we identify this could be this definition, that is O11Y. That is when we take these words from the O to Y, that is the 11 words behind of. So that is the split this term using O11Y. More quickly, if you find something related for observability, you can also identify for O11Y these capabilities for you. So start talking about for the golden triangle here. What is exactly golden triangle behind observability? When we start talking about for the logs, metrics, and traces. But when logs start to, hey, when my application starts, they start to doing and generate this log in some part of the application on the operation system that we will deploy it. That is the first part. The second part is related for metrics, that is related for the structured data that provides to us a quantitative data about how the behaviors going on our application, on our operation systems, and also we connect this using traces. The traces are record for this interaction between one component and another components behind of the distribution system, and also if we move for a new architectural design using the microservices or the nanoservices, you define exactly how do these components communicate from one to each other. That is exactly how to observability help to us to doing better these our jobs, because when we start the journey for observability, we need to identify exactly how to the components are communicated and how to these components could be communicated with the database, the storage, the networking behind of the firewalls. I don't know, a lot of components behind of that you need to generate for this communication for different areas or different companies that you need to support for doing that. Okay, what is exactly observability as code, or AOAC? Observability as code is exactly how we can generate this process using the capabilities that we mentioned, and we call it IAC, right? The infrastructure as code, and we move this concept from infrastructure as code and use it and doing better for observability. How do we can generate and deploy these new capabilities for observability, for doing for us better, and how do we can enable this stack for all teams around for the our whole ecosystem for our teams. How do we can enable for the development team, for the QA team, for the security team, for all the scopes that we need, and also how do we can cover this in a more easily way and using exactly the very useful that we define using the IIC framework, right? So that is the biggest challenge here, because when we start for infrastructure as code, that is could be a quick example for, because you wrote the TF files for generate these stacks. But what happened for the next? You need to identify, hey, how do we can deploy observability stacks for doing better for us? How do you can manage this configuration? How do you can storage? How do you can increase this communication between one teams to another's? Because when you start to doing that, it's the biggest challenge here, because one teams needs to generate this to expose this information about the observability side, that is called telemetry. How do you can obtain this information and move very quick to another part and also start to doing that? That is the biggest challenge here, because not all teams are supported for doing that, because when you start to doing observability, you need to enable new capabilities, especially for the development team, how to they can generate this data for the application, how to do these teams generate these capabilities for our new system, right? But for that, you can could be told for the instrumentation side, that is very new component on that, and this cover exactly how to the teams could be address this for related for instrumentation side in a very quick and very nice way. So for that, we need to talk about for observability as code, how do we can enable these capabilities for the infrastructure side for generate these components for, how do we can generate this management, how do we can address this effort that we need to move very quick for our teams, right? That is the focus here. So what is the principal benefits here? The principal benefit here are the first part, that is consistency, that we take from and we drill down using the IIC concepts. That it's very common, because we generate this consistency for all the configuration side, for all the infrastructure side, and how do we can deploy very quick, and how do we can generate these tools in a same way from for development, for QA, for production environment, right? we reduce exactly the manual effort, and these new capabilities around for the manual effort that we can reduce the risk for the could be wrong button when we start this configuration, and also how do we can enable very quick this response to issues, because when the development team need to access to, I don't know, could be a cluster of Kubernetes, or could be an EC2 instance, or could be a couple of Lambdas or something like that, you need to enable these capabilities for the whole teams around for that uses that. And you can enable these capabilities using exactly the observability side, because you enable this size inside for the development. The application was deployed on development, on QA, on production environment. That is the hugest challenge here, and this is the benefits when you enable this observability as code. But what else we enable these benefits? We enable also another benefit. That is one, that is accelerated application debugging and remediation. That is address, very similar to response the issues, but more focused for how do we can generate this debugging and remediation side. For another part, we enhance and security posture. When we enable this debugging side and response to issues, we also enable a new capabilities for the security part, because we also store this potential information that we can use for how to the security could be using that for generate a new posture using that. That is very awesome to doing here, because when you enable these capabilities, the security team be grateful for you, because you separate and isolate exactly the components behind of, because you don't need to access the development team to the production environments to try to see what happened inside for the production environment. But the development team have the possibility to access to their data for this cluster. What happened exactly for these components, for another component, and identify exactly what happened for our components. And we reduce exactly in the same in the same scope the security posture, because we don't need to grant access to the development team to the production environment. Just enable observability side for the development team, and also they can identify what happened exactly with this component. That it's pretty awesome here. And also we enable agility and collaboration with observability, but that is very similar like observability and AIC. That when we start with AIC, we enable these capabilities for, hey, infrastructure as code, and how to the development team could be generate or start this collaborating wave. And also we can enable this and focus it for observability side, because we move observability and we generate this drill down to generate this code for the observability side, right? And if the development team could be generating a new board for something like that, or generate new alley for something, or generate and identify some signals for the platform, they can access to the for this source, and they can modify, and also the observability side generate and validate if this makes sense or not. But depends exactly the maturity that you currently have for your teams, right? So that is part about for the theory side here, and also we can move very quick using this demo that I prepared for you. And also if you can access to this repository that we have also in GitHub, we generate, okay, we need to enable the multi-factor authentication here, but I also generated that. And also we can access to these configurations files that I already prepared for you. So we can start doing here. Also, let me move very quick for this demo site and start to generate this copy paste configuration that we have here. So at the first part, we have the install C advisor. This very optional, because if you currently have exposed a couple of signals, that the objective of this prereq is enable these signals and also take these signals and send to the observability stack. That is the objective here. So we can copy here that is install cAdvisor, that is a component for Docker side. Let me pass here. The container cAdvisor are currently running, Docker PS. We currently have the container for cAdvisor site, and also we can move very quick for the these metrics that are currently collected for the cAdvisor, and also we can see here exactly how we can enable Prometheus in the same way, and also how they can access to Prometheus. We can validate here if Prometheus currently works or not. At this moment, they sense to us that we have a failure for this configuration, so we need to move very quick here, and also the resend for Prometheus side. And let me see here. Let me down this container. Docker stop Prometheus, and let me pass here the command docker run, and also we need to mount the Prometheus configuration file. But for doing that, we need to change exactly the IP address here that is related for our currently configuration. And let me modify it for you. Beam Prometheus configuration file, right? And also we saw here this IP. This IP is related for our target, that is related for the current cluster that we have a provisioning IP address here, and also we need to identify our IP internal, that is this. So we can move very quick here, and also let me modify this IP here. We just need to delete this and also save, and we can send the Docker command that copy from this side and also move for this Docker run. Let me see what happened here. With this command, we generate a new Prometheus container. This name will be Prometheus, and expose the port 9090. Mount the Prometheus conf file that we modified previously, beam Prometheus configuration files, and I changed this line for our IP for contain the configuration. And also if we copy and paste this Docker run and send, reuse the name Docker PS Docker RM, that is for Prometheus, and also we can execute now. So Docker PS, we have already two containers here. So if we reload this configuration side, we saw here exactly the app side, and we need to wait exactly the app here. That is the change that we need to generate that. So we continue for generate these Prometheus traces, and also we need to install Grafana here. Let me verify we don't mount exactly the configuration for any IP address, so we can move very quick here, and also we can pass the command here. So we start the Grafana site at this moment, and also we can access to Grafana because we export the port 300. If we saw here, we modify the password for the admin user, admin and password. That's it. We have access now. So what continue with for the demo side? Connect Terraform to Grafana. So we have here a couple of configurations that we need to do previously to connect our Terraform for this Grafana side. Let me move very quick here. So export the TF bar that is related for the authentication side, that is the admin and password to access, because this is a demo site, but you can remove that, and also you can enable the security practice behind for this your CI or your CD implementation that you are currently identified for your site. And also we can move very quick here. Terraform apply, target, there's Grafana for my organization. Okay. And also we can generate a new organization inside of Grafana. But what is the code here? We can clone this tab, reload, duplicate, and duplicate this tab. And also we can check exactly the main file, and also the target that we saw here, that is Grafana organization my org. So we can move for Grafana organization. That is the first part, and that is the target for how we can generate this organization. But we saw here exactly that they use the bar organization name, and if we move for very quick for the bars file, we saw here the Grafana, the organization name will be OEAC.org, that is the default value. And also we saw here exactly the Grafana authentication site that we defined for the access to that. And we access this configuration for this site, the Grafana site, and how do we can access to the local host. And this is the port, how do we configure the provider, and also what is the kind of the authentication that we made for this demo. So we return here for the main file, and we saw here this part. And also if we validate here in Grafana, the administration side, and if we saw the organizations part, we just see one organization, right? But if we send this this target that we saw here, we can move very quick for this side. We saw this start to connect to Grafana, and also sends this communication site for doing that. But I forget something very special here. This that is for Terraform init, for initialize the provider and download the configurations from Grafana's for Terraform site, sorry. And okay, we continue here in the demo site. So we saw here, and we generate this modification for the provider, provider. Okay. And also we change here the local host for our IP address, that it's very important for us. And also when you generate this for your IT, for that is the demo, don't run on production, please. And also if we run the first target that is related for generate my organization site, I can copy and paste here. We saw here exactly the change that is related for generate on Grafana my organization, and we saw here the first. Also we can move very quick here and move for the organizations on Grafana and reload the page, and we saw here exactly the new organization. That's pretty awesome, because this is generate for you to solve what happened internally for your organization. Depends if you could be split that for the areas, depends exactly for the implementations that you are currently have using Terraform and also with Grafana. And we copy the second command here. We added the new Prometheus data source. Remember, we create this Prometheus data source already. If we saw here on Grafana the data source, the connection side, we don't have any data source, and we pass here Grafana Prometheus, right? And we saw here yes, and let us check exactly what happened with the site for generate this data source. The data source was called Prometheus, and the Prometheus will be connected to this. This is bad. We need to change for the IP address also. Let me modify this. Be the provider. Be main.df, and also we need to change here. That is for this IP address. You need to change also in your execution, in your local executions, and read Terraform apply this target for Prometheus. They identified exactly change for the IP address, and that's it. And we saw here and reload, we don't see exactly the data source because we create this data source using the organization, right? And also we saw here that the organization that we move, that is related for the organization that we created here in the line 11. So we need to move for the new organization and move for the data source and connections here and move for data source. And we saw here exactly the Prometheus and was marked that is the default. And if we access here, we saw that the configuration works. Save and test. Configuration was successful. That it's pretty awesome. And also, if we move very quick to the next one, that is related for generate a new folder inside of Grafana. We copy this and move very quick for the source and generate these chains. And also we saw here the creating for Grafana folder, and we just check very quick in the source code what happened with this folder. For create this folder, that is Observability as code folder, we generate this for the same organization. And also if we move here and move for the home, for the dashboards side, we saw here exactly Observability as code folder that we taken now for this organization that we created, right? So move for the next one, that is for create a new dashboard. If we saw here the part of the dashboard, we implemented here the folder that we created, the organization that's already created, and we inject this JSON that is contains all information around for this dashboard. For generate the dashboard, you could be involved another libraries for Grafana, and also you can use a couple of definitions around behind of for using and generate this JSON. We saw here the ref 3 that has the dashboard here. It is a copy paste for the one revision from the dashboard for Prometheus exactly, right? They change this. The theme is that they need to change it. And when we define here in the Grafana site that they generate the data source, we saw here that we drop exactly the unique identifier internal for Grafana. So when we send this new dashboard, we saw here exactly the data source, that is the Prometheus, and this is the unifier ID that we drop at the same way for generate this mix for the new configuration, right? So we move here and pass for generate this for the dashboard site, and we saw here exactly the change that is related for the whole JSON injected and the communication, that the relation with the dashboard folder and also with the organization. We just send yes, and if we reload here, we saw exactly the new dashboard, and if we access, we can see here exactly the information gathering that we collected for the Prometheus and jump to the C advisor and get this information to the Grafana side. With that, you can enable this in a very quick way, and also you can address that using the URL4, using exactly the configuration user, the CI and CD implementation, right? So this is the dashboard. Sorry, because I don't reload here, but this is the dashboard that I talked. And also we continue here for this part. So what is exactly these conclusions that we enabled using observability as code? We start using exactly this triple thread about the observability traces and logs and metrics that we talking previously about how we can get this information for our application and how we can obtain this, and we centralize using Grafana in this moment. And also we can generate these concepts for the observability infrastructure as code, and we move the same concept more for the observability side. That is the biggest challenge here, because you need to enable and define these new capabilities for your teams, right? Accelerate the application debugging and remediation through observability, because we generate this dashboard, and also the development team, the QA team, the security team grant access to this dashboard, and also they can identify what kind of new needs they need to add it to these boards, and also how they can help these boards for address this is for, right? Enhance security posture through observability, the same. Enable agility and collaboration with observability and IAC. If I generate could be I don't know, the guys behind of the development team, or could be the security side, don't know exactly how to generate this JSON. You can access and generate, could be here, a new panel, and you drop here and access to the JSON model. You can copy and paste and drop this for your version control system, and also you have the capabilities for, hey, what kind of changes generate I don't know, the security team, or could be the development team, and also how you can address this from one side to another, right? That is the exactly part that you can enable in a quick way for generate this. This is a brief resume for today. For this talk, we talk about for observability as code. We talk in a general way about the golden triangle, observability, OIL and Y, and a couple of benefits behind of this using the version control system, and also how you can move very quick using that internally on our teams. That is this talk for today. Thank you for coming to this talk. Thank you everyone for joining to this session. Have an awesome day. Bye bye.